Diane Legis,
And I'm Karen Deloach.
and welcome to Love Letters. Love Letters are a collection of love stories of people get lost, get crazy, and disoriented in the name of love. Another week, another great episode. Miss Karen, we missed you last week, and finally you're here. So, what will be our letter sender of the day?
A listener seeking a lasting love legacy.
Interesting.
All
So,
right.
no further ado, can you please read our letter?
My pleasure. Dear Love Letters, I am writing with a heart that longs to understand how love can become a legacy, something lasting, something true, something strong enough to be carried by our children and their children after them. In a word that moves too quickly, in a world that moves too quickly, where the relationships can sometimes feel fragile, I want to know how we can build the kind of love that remains, love that teaches, protects, inspires, and anchors, love that becomes more than a feeling, but a heritage. I seek your wisdom to help me carry this vision with grace. There are moments when I wonder whether love is something we learn or something we remember, something already written inside us, waiting for guidance to unfold. Yet I know that the love we pass on must be lived out in our everyday actions, in kindness, in patience, in forgiveness, and in the courage to stay when staying matters most. I want to understand how to live this out in a way that my children will see and emulate. How do we show love so consistently that it becomes a marker of who we are? Is that this is the lesson I hope to learn. Family love is the first love a child knows. And I want that foundation to be strong enough to guide them along after they step into their own lives. But life is complicated, and even adults need help remembering how to love well. And that is why I turn to you, because your voices, your reflections, and your stories have the power to untangle the knots of the heart. You remind us that love is not perfect, but it is still worth choosing every day. And I want to choose it in a way that echoes for generations. I believe that a legacy of love is one of the greatest gifts that we can pass on to our children.
Wow.
I'm almost done. I got lost.
Awesome.
All right. It is the greatest gift that we can give them. It is not measured in wealth or success, but in how deeply we care, how courageously we listen, and how willingly we give ourselves to those we cherish. I want to learn how to build a love that endures through the seasons, through joy, through sorrow, and through the uncertain spaces in between. A love that teaches our children what commitment looks like, what tenderness feels like, and what faithfulness sounds like in the quiet moments. Help me understand how to make love something that lasts. Thank you, Love Letters, for being a place where hearts can speak openly, where stories can breathe, and where love, messy and miraculous, can be
Yes.
explored without fear. Your podcast encourages us to look deeper, love better, and hold on to what truly matters. I hope you can guide me in discovering how love can become my family's inheritance, one that brings healing, strength, and hope for generations to come. With your wisdom, I know this journey will be something beautiful. With gratitude and hope, A listener seeking a lasting love legacy.
Yes, what a wonderful letter. A listener seeking a lasting legacy. Wow.
I, I, I agree. That is one of the most beautiful letters I've seen is somebody crying out for, something that is true and something that matters. And it really touched my heart. So thank you, listener, for writing this letter to us. It has really touched Daniel and me.
Definitely. And listener, love begins with presence, not perfection. Showing up emotionally, mentally, and spirituality creates a foundation stronger than any grand gesture. Be someone who listens with patience, even when the moment feels ordinary. Small facts or small acts of consistency teach the heart to trust. Remember, the quiet moments often become the most cherished memories.
Oh, that's beautiful. And some of the things that Daniel and I have talked about in our podcast has to do with like a marriage that has endurance, that stands the test of time. And a lot of those same keys for your relationship can be effective in passing that legacy of love on to your children and then grandchildren. And I have to say that my husband and I have been enjoying this past year with a grandchild living with us, and we just celebrated his first birthday. And being able, as you're describing in this letter, passing on all the love and everything that we worked as we raised
Hmm.
our four children and pouring it into this baby has been an incredibly beautiful experience because it's not your child, so you don't have to do all the parenting, but you get to just pour love and attention and affection and play with the child. And we've never had more fun. I can promise you that. It is a blast. So, when you describe a legacy, you're talking about generations. And I hope that you have access to grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles, others that your children are related to that can come alongside and reinforce what you are pouring into your children with sacrificial love as they play and share blood and share stories and share memories that a lifetime is built upon.
A lifetime indeed. And listener, always choose honesty, even when it feels uncomfortable. Truth is spoken with love, builds clarity, and clarity keeps relationships whole. When you communicate openly, misunderstandings shrink and intimacy grows. Let your words be sincere and kind, never sharp or dismissive. Honesty wrapped in a compassion strengthens every bond. As they said, honesty is the best policy.
And as Daniel is describing that, how that helps your strength of your marriage, but it also strengthens your relationship with your children. They know that when they ask you a question, you're going to tell them the truth as much as they can understand that truth at this age, whatever age it is, but you're not going to be lying to them. And that is an important key as Daniel is describing honesty. It also works with your children. And I can tell a story when I was a young mother, my children were only 1 and 3. We were I was a single mom at that time. And I was concerned as a Christian believer that my children saw Santa Clauses everywhere they looked, but they didn't see Jesus except in a manger as a baby. And so I prayed about how to be honest with my children describing Santa Claus. So of course we read the beautiful poem, you know, um, about Santa Claus, where he's described, and they loved the poem. They loved the story of Santa Claus. And I said, Santa Claus is a character, just like Mickey Mouse, just like these other characters, and he's full of love, and he loves to give to children. And they just enjoyed Santa Claus, and they understood the difference because Jesus, who they couldn't see, is their savior for real. And he is a person they can't see, but they can believe. So that's just one example of how I solved being honest with my children when they were very little. They had no conflict with Santa Claus and Jesus ever in their lives because they understood that I wasn't going to lie to them, and they could enjoy Santa Claus and still be believers in Jesus.
Yes, definitely. And listener, forgiveness is not weakness, it's a wisdom. No relationship, romantic, familial, or lifelong, survives without the grace to release past hurts. When you forgive, you free yourself from bitterness and make space for growth. Choose to heal even it takes time and effort. The heart becomes lighter when it learns to let it go. Give love without keeping score. Act of kindness lose their beauty when measured or compared. Love grows when it's given freely without expecting anything in return. A generous heart inspires others to be generous too. Let your affection be an offering, not negotiation.
Pooh, that's really good, Daniel. You know,
Mm,
and we think about forgiveness in our marriage, but do you ever say you're sorry to your child? We want our children to say sorry when they've done wrong, but are you
mhm.
able to say I'm sorry to your child? Maybe you yelled when you shouldn't have, or lost your temper and spanked when in anger rather than waiting until you weren't in anger anymore. I know I certainly have. But boy, when you say I'm sorry to your child and you cry together and hug each other, then there has been a bond restored that could have been lost if that whatever injustice had happened, when you are not willing to humble yourself even before your children.
Yes, be humble. Humility, people. Learn to communicate your needs with gentleness, not demands. People cannot love you well if they do not understand what you value, hope for, or fear. Speak your truth with calmness and clarity. Invite understanding instead of conflict. Healthy communication is one of the greatest gifts you can offer any relationship.
Being a parent is sacrificial because it's a long time before they're gonna give back to you for the most part. They just
Yes.
need and want, and their wants become more important than your wants and needs. And it can even be challenging in a marriage to remember that your marriage has to come first and the children second, even though when they're little, their needs take both of you to be together to meet the needs of these little tiny babies and then these small children. Even as they grow into teenagers, it's important that you have a united front and you find a way to be in agreement on how you're parenting, because that kind of unity is going to express love to your child. When they can't say, well, mom said I could, or dad said it was okay, then you have to go back to your spouse and say, okay, let's get an agreement so our child doesn't come in between trying to split, our opinion here. And we've talked, Daniel and I have talked about things to do to strengthen your marriage, like creating traditions. Well, that's true in
Yes.
family too. Creating traditions like Thanksgiving, where you are going to share a dinner with the multi generations, and everybody helps. Everybody makes something. Even little children can help fold napkins or put things on the table, or help carry things if they're not too little. And so it's a fun way to create a tradition that involves the whole family, or even just sharing, what are you grateful for? And even little children, if they can talk, they can share what they're grateful for. Creates a beautiful tradition as a family.
A beautiful tradition and happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Choose patience, especially in moments of frustration. Love requires time to deepen and time to mature. Slow reaction often prevent unnecessary wounds and create room for understanding. When you breathe before responding, you give kindness a chance to shape the moment. Patience is one of the love's quiet superpowers. Respect differences too. No two hearts speak in exactly the same language, and that is where growth begins. Appreciate the uniqueness of others instead of trying to mold them into your expectations. Celebrate what makes each person special. Love deepens when we make a room for individuality.
Yes. And Daniel mentioned comparing. It's really, really important you don't compare your children one to another or to other people's children. It's really important that you accept each child uniquely as their own person. They're not going to be the same. And it's really important that you spend time with each child to see their unique differences, their own weaknesses and strengths. And trust me, they're gonna see your weaknesses as strengths too. They're gonna try to play against your weaknesses and each other. But
Mhm.
sacrificially spend the time. It's not, as the even the letter writer talked about, the success isn't about money or accomplishment. It truly is about that sacrificial love. All of these things that Daniel's describing in patience, forgiveness, commitment, these things are what are going to create that legacy that you are longing for in your children and with your children's children.
Set a healthy boundaries and honor them, listener. Boundaries do not push love away. They protect it. When you know your limits and communicate them clearly, relationship gains stability and respect. Boundaries prevent resentment from growing in the shadows. A relationship with mutual respect becomes a relationship that lasts.
Oh, yeah, and, the Bible talks about that a woman should respect her husband and a man love his wife, because he knew it would be easy for a man to respect his wife and a woman to love her husband, but it's harder the opposite way. And so when they see you respecting and loving each other, it's the kind of relationship they're going to want to have in their marriages too. So this
Mhm.
kind of importance of respecting each other's opinions, even if you don't agree with them. I like to say sometimes I don't even agree with myself. So how are you gonna always agree with your spouse? And
Mhm.
your children aren't gonna agree, "But everybody else does, mom," or "Everybody else has a phone, why can't I have?" There's gonna be lots of challenges like that, and it's important that you and your spouse find agreement on how you're gonna handle these things, even if it's afterwards. And what do we say now? And there's nothing to compare with being on your knees together, both as a couple and as a family, creating a tradition of prayer and Bible study and church going as a family creates a strong foundation that the gates of hell cannot stand against.
Yes, a gates of hell cannot stop. Never stop learning how to love better. Read, listen, grow, and stay curious about the people in your life. Love is not a skill mastered. Once it evolves, as we evolve, be open to feedback and add willing to improve your habits. A growing heart is a loving heart.
Mm. I like that. Well, our children are growing and their needs change. Their desires change. I remember my son wanted to be a truck driver all of his life. A little kid, he'd be in his car seat and go, "A truck, truck, truck," before he would say, "Twuck, twuck, twuck." He just loved trucks. He works for he's a landscape architect, and he drives a truck a lot of times, pulling equipment. So it's funny. I told him that. I said, "Ever since you were a little boy, you wanted to be a truck driver." But our life takes different turns as we grow, as Daniel's talking about growth, as we allow each other and our children to grow. It's good to watch. It's difficult sometimes, the changes, but it's all so beautiful the way it unfolds. And you don't, as Daniel was saying, it's not perfection.
Hmm.
It's a life of living before each other in reality with truth, letting them see, even if you and your husband do have some problems, you know, at some point it's okay to say, we're struggling through this, but pray for us, pray for your parents, just as we pray for you. We've got some things we have to work through. We've got some challenges, we've got some stresses, and you let your children in on and see the need for each other to be real and honest and transparent with each other. Now, you don't put burdens on your children. I don't mean that. But it's okay if they can see that their parents are human and have feelings and have failures as well as successes, and that sometimes they shed tears and sometimes they share laughter. And that is all part of day to day living, isn't it, Daniel?
Definitely. And finally, remember that love begins with you. The kindness you show yourself become the kindness you can give others. When you treat your own heart with care, you set the standard for how others should treat you. Self love is not selfish, it's the root of all healthy connections. Nurture yourself so your legacy of love can be fulfilled.
Mm, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, Daniel. So I hope you, letter writer of such a gorgeous letter, that as you, I'm sure, journal and write,
Hmm.
write so well, journal your thoughts and feelings, that even your words can be a legacy to your children. My family is very artistic and musical, and my sons are making a way for their children to play music, even as very little, and they all play and jam together, creating a legacy. So what is it that your family loves to do together? Is it sports? My brother's family love to do sports together. What is it that your family loves? Do you like to sing together? What are the things that you love to do together? Um, and you can do that together as a family. Teach your little ones the things that you love to do, and they'll love to do it too.
Definitely a legacy that you will build that will be your legacy to the world. So, Miss Karen, would you like to plug in something?
Yes, we'd love to have you join us on our Bible Verses 101, because we have a new episode every week of our Bible verses too. And this week we're going to have one from the book of Job that I
Yes,
encourage you to look up, Job 22:28. You will enjoy it. It's a blessing. So
it's
come,
a
join
blessing.
us.
Yes, blessing. It's a blessing, people. And again, another great letter sender. And thank you so much for sending out your letters. Thank you. Thank you. And we promise you, Miss Karen and I will give you the best of the best advice that we will cater to our minds through God's blessings. So, Miss Karen, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure, and God bless you, all of you. Till next
M-
time.
Till next time, more to come, people. See you soon.